Good morning and welcome to Ball Cap Bible Study. See, today is Andy's frozen custard hat, and we're going to be comparing the Beatitudes with the fruit of the Spirit. They align and they're parallel, so we'll be doing that after a couple of announcements. I'm going to make this one a little more brief. Oh, good. You get to hear Rachel and the dog in the background as they're knocking around and trying to feed cats and do all sorts of stuff. So yeah, a big German Shepherd wants to help feed the cat. Actually, she wants to help eat the cat, but that's okay. Well, excuse me. This morning, our announcements are that probably by the time most of you see this, we will have had Leisure Live Wires for October, and we will skip December or November. We will not have a November Leisure Live Wires because that's when everybody's gearing up for holidays and wanting to spend time with their families and that kind of thing. So no November Leisure Live Wires, but then we will have December Leisure Live Wires. And that will be Randy Parsons and his band of alumni from Capitol Hill High School. It's Aussies. I don't know the official name for it, but it's a tribute. It's not a band, it's a choir. It's a tribute choir, and they are so good. We've wanted them back for 3 or 4 years in a row now. They are one of the tightest little choirs I've ever seen, and Randy does an incredible job with them. It's something that just kind of makes you sit back and go, wow. And they are so good. It'll be obviously Christmas themed, and we'll have a great time. And you don't want to miss this one. It's going to be a great meal. We're going to ask Randy in the kitchen to make his famous pot roast for us, and the glazed carrots and the green beans and a little bigger salad bar. So it'll be good, and a good dessert for everybody. So you won't go away hungry from this one. Here tomorrow, by the time you see this, you'll probably have either been there or are coming. But we're going to have hot dogs because October is baseball playoffs and heading into the World Series. And, baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet, that kind of thing. But tomorrow for Leisure Live Wires, we'll have Cheryl Presley from, she's the triad coordinator for the Oklahoma City Police Department. And I think she even works with the Oklahoma County Sheriff and all. But she, lets people know what the bad guys are doing and what the scams are and how to protect yourself and that kind of thing. And there's some new stuff out there. She came about 4 years ago, pre-COVID. So we're going to enjoy that. That's going to be good information. Then let's see what else is going on. Oh, First Responder Sunday coming up on the 30th. That's going to be a really big time of celebration, for our police, our firefighters, all those folks you think of as first responders, IMSA, the EMTs, that kind of thing. So we'll have that. Seems like there's some other stuff going on, but oh yes, sorry. Pray for the Nation. A week from Tuesday, on Tuesday the 18th. Leisure Live Wires is the 11th, and then Pray for the Nation will be the 18th. And some of you may have seen the flyers that we're putting in the classrooms. So we've developed 5 points the team has. I've just kind of ridden along and written the checks for stuff, but they've developed 5 points of prayer emphasis leading up to the elections. And each week in your classrooms, there are flyers with the point on them. And then on week 6, the Sunday right before the elections, there will be a flyer with all the points there together for you. And the 18th, this is the last Pray for the Nation meeting get together that we're going to have before the election. The next one will be after the elections, and so we'll know the results and we'll know who to pray for. Right now, we're really focusing on how to pray, what to pray for, that kind of thing. But we'll know specifically who to pray for, as we head into 2023. So, with that, let's get into our Ball Cap Bible study, and we will compare the second beatitude and the second fruit of the Spirit. So just real quick, the Beatitudes If you think about it, they open up that Sermon on the Mount. And what's really, I think, interesting, cool about the Beatitudes and the fruit of the Spirit, combination, parallel study, is that Paul is juxtaposing the spirit and the flesh, but Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, he's juxtaposing, a kind of a secular worldview with a scriptural worldview. He's letting the world says this is important, but the truth is this is important. He has that whole section of "you have heard, but I say." He speaks with authority. Remember, Matthew is all about magnifying and making clear the authority that Jesus had. There's all through the book of Matthew, he spoke as one having authority. He tells the disciples, all authority has been given to me. So that kind of thing. And he starts off the Sermon on the Mount. He just dives into the Beatitudes, and they are different than what one would think. They're that scriptural oxymoron. Like jumbo shrimp or military intelligence or political science. All those things that don't sound like they should go together. And so, when he says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven," that doesn't sound right. And so this one, he says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Now, I use that in almost every funeral because it's true. In Thessalonians, God tells us he is the God of all comfort. And, we're comforted in our sufferings so that we can use that experience that God gives us to be Christ-like, to sometimes we're the only Jesus people get to see, and we can comfort others as they suffer. That's what we're told that's in 2 Corinthians chapter 1. So when you see, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted," that's good. That in itself is comforting, because there are some people who want to be really tough and not mourn. But the fact is, God wants to comfort you. But how can he do that if he doesn't see us mourn? And all too often, what he sees, especially with the things that go on around us, and the way we get frustrated with the world and with ungodly leaders and all sorts of things, is we demand to be comforted, but God never really sees us mourn. He just sees us get angry. He just sees us get upset. And there's a difference in being upset and mourning. Now, here's the challenge. In relation to, think of it as the scriptural position, the godly worldview. If we're supposed to be Christ-like, what does Jesus mourn over? Think about that. Lost souls. Have you ever mourned over somebody because you thought they died and didn't go to heaven? Maybe you have, but that is really, where we want to put some of our mourning. I mean, absolutely, when our family or our parents or our spouse, our kids, whatever, and hopefully it's not kids, but when people pass away that we love, we mourn, we grieve. Grief is a gift. It's an emotion. We're made in God's image. He's emotional. It's how he ministers to us. But the point is, do we mourn over the same things God mourns over? Jesus wept twice in the Bible. What was he sad about? What did he mourn over? We can get into that's a whole nother study, but one of the times was when he was entering Jerusalem for the last time, and he saw that city, and he mourned over it, and he knew what was coming. I mean, he told the disciples, as gorgeous as that temple is, not one stone will be left unturned. So compare that. Let's go over the fruit of the Spirit. And this one, at first doesn't make sense. The parallel study, how do these two go together? But hopefully I'll be able to explain that a little bit. So the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things, there is no law. If that's who you are, if you are all that, no law can touch you. You are well under the law, if that makes sense. We always say no one's above the law, but if all of that is you, you are well under the law. So we talked about the poor in spirit and love last week. Today we're going to talk about blessed are those who mourn, they shall be comforted, and joy. Wow, that really doesn't seem like it goes together, does it? How can mourning lead to joy? Well, if you're mourning over the same things Jesus is mourning over, then what are you willing to do about it? Where does joy ultimately come from? Joy is that satisfaction, not roller coaster ride joy, not vacation joy, but consistent joy. That satisfaction, that fulfillment of life. Where does that come from? Well, that comes from serving the Lord, using your spiritual gifts. I would submit to you that most of the people I run into, not all of them, but most of them, who are grumpy, grouchy, grumbly in a church setting, are sitting, observing, and critiquing instead of up, working, and using their spiritual gifts. The people who are serving, who are using their spiritual gifts, who understand, what they've been given and what God wants them to do with it, I don't ever hear them gripe or complain. They now there are reasons for everybody to gripe. I'm one of the biggest complainers on the planet. I get that, but sometimes the and I try to evaluate, and listen, and 9 times out of 10 people aren't wrong. They're just frustrated, but and especially those that have the gift of prophecy, the prophets, because somebody with the gift of prophecy cannot stand quiet. They have to speak truth. They can't let unrighteousness go unchecked. So I appreciate them, and I appreciate that. But joy comes from serving. Now, here's the thing. If we mourn over the same things Christ mourns over, we will apply our spiritual gifts to try and minimize that mourning, to try and prevent the things, or serve the Lord in a way that he can work on people, and he can use us and reduce the things that cause the mourning, mourning, because if we mourn over, I'll just throw out some easy ones, sanctity of life, or if you have the gift of evangelism, you're going to mourn over people not being saved. If you have the gift of hospitality, you're going to mourn over people not being treated well, or welcomed, or that warm way a church ought to perform. If you have the gift of mercy, you're going to mourn over somebody going through a situation in life where they're not shown compassion, those kinds of things. So but guess what? You get to apply your spiritual gift in a way that comforts you. So that is, and that's where the joy comes from. So it's this cool circle of, you get saved, you get a spiritual gift. You because of that, typically because of that gift, you're more sensitive to the things that are opposite of that gift, the things that would cause you to apply it. You see that you see that going on, it makes you sad, you mourn over that, and then you apply your spiritual gift, and and it helps to minimize what's going on, and then you're comforted because you got to be a part of it, of God's work, and then you get joy out of it. So that's the way I see the two going together. But anyway, um, it's a every train has to run on two tracks, and yes, we can literally mourn because of the loss of loved ones, or things that happen in life that we don't have control over, but then we also need to mourn over the things that God mourns over. So that's it. That's the Ball Cap Bible Study, and I hope you can see now how blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted, can lead to joy. So that's my take on it, and I will see you next time. Be sure and catch Leisure Live Wires, especially the December one if you can't make the one tomorrow. Pray for the nation, and First Responder Sunday's coming up on the last Sunday of the month, October 30th. And if you're watching this today on Monday, it's Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day, First Americans. So all right, I love you guys, and we will see you soon.